On 5 News, football's child abuse scandal takes another twist. Chelsea are accused of making a secret payment to an alleged victim who threatened to go public. Also, a cyber attack on National Lottery customers as thousands have their online accounts hacked. New warnings: pharmacies will be forced to close because of budget cuts starting tomorrow. And calls to change the law on divorce to stop couples having to find someone to blame.
You said you cheated when you didn't.
Yeah, I just ticked the box, the adultery box, because it just seemed the easiest way.
Hello and welcome to 5 News. I'm Sian Williams. Chelsea is the latest football club to be embroiled in allegations of historical sexual abuse. The club's confirmed it's called in lawyers to investigate claims an employee abused a youth team player in the 1970s. It's being reported that the alleged victim was paid off after threatening to go public, a suggestion the Football Association described as morally repugnant. Our chief correspondent, Tessa Chapman, reports.
Making headlines day after day, the beautiful game is facing a crisis. And now the abuse scandal has drawn in one of Britain's biggest football clubs. A report in The Telegraph claims Chelsea paid hush money to a former youth team footballer who made allegations of sexual assault against this man, Eddie Heath, Chelsea's top talent spotter in the 1970s, who has now passed away. Chelsea have released a statement which doesn't name Heath, but does say they have hired a law firm to carry out an investigation into an individual who worked at the club in the 1970s and is now deceased. They go on to say that they have contacted the FA and will pass on any relevant information. Former Chelsea and England player Ray Wilkins was coached by Eddie Heath for many years. He's shocked by the allegations.
I knew Eddie for a long time. I joined Chelsea when I was 10 and a half, and I had the pleasure of meeting him then. So yeah, I would say my childhood at Chelsea was an extremely happy one, along with a lot of other guys there as well. So naturally I was surprised last night, yeah.
As Chelsea and other well-known clubs carry out their own reviews, the FA's internal investigation is also underway. But one MP fears confidentiality agreements signed between some clubs and alleged victims could hamper progress.
The FA should tell clubs that they must tear up these confidentiality agreements to allow the victims of abuse to come forward and share their stories. And I think the FA should make absolutely clear that if clubs refuse to do that, and they're found to have not done that, that the FA will take sanctions within the game against those clubs.
Under an increasingly intense spotlight, football is under pressure to prove investigations are not just rigorous, but transparent too.
And Tessa, more police investigations announced today. What's the latest?
That's right, 4 more police forces have announced investigations. That brings to a total of 13 those looking into abuse in football. If you look at the geography of those forces, they cover all corners of the UK, from Scotland to Wales, Northumberland to Norwich, Hampshire and Dorset. They're all saying the same thing, though, that they are working closely with the NSPCC and the FA, and they are encouraging anyone who has been a victim to come forward. They say, we will listen, we will take the allegations seriously and thoroughly investigate however long ago the abuse might have taken place.
Tessa, thank you. More than 26,000 lottery users have had their personal information hacked. Camelot, which runs the lottery, says no money has been taken, but customers' accounts have been accessed and a few have seen their details changed. Well, the security breach raises questions about just how safe our data is, as Danny Sinha reports.
If you play the National Lottery online, be careful. It could be you. And we're not talking cash prizes. Around 26,500 players have had their online accounts hacked. Details such as their name, date of birth, contact details, the last 4 digits of their card number, and even its expiry date may now be in the hands of cyber criminals. Those affected say they want answers.
I'd like to see the National Lottery contact all of the users that have been affected and let us know where this data was taken from, if it was taken from a third-party website. I think that would be the prudent next step, so I can remove my data from that site.
Camelot says they became aware of the problem on Monday and suspended the affected accounts immediately. They insist fewer than 50 accounts have had some activity take place since the attack, but Camelot's own systems have not been hacked. In a statement, they say, "We believe that the email address and password used on the National Lottery website may have been stolen from another website where affected players use the same details. We'd like to reassure our customers that protecting their personal data is of the utmost importance to us." Earlier this month, Tesco Bank fell victim to a cyber attack, which resulted in it paying out an estimated £2.5 million to 9,000 customers. And in September, a Yahoo data breach affected 8 million user accounts in the UK and compromised around 500 million accounts globally.
Every single piece of data has a value. On its own, maybe not so much, but as all these data breaches happen, as we see all these different, masses and masses of information, all gets correlated together, and criminals are able to build up like a profile.
3 opportunities per week to play this game.
The Wheel of Fortune may not be working in Camelot's favour, and they are trying to restore customers' confidence. The Information Commissioner's Office has launched an investigation into the incident. Danny Sinha, 5 News.
Vigils have been held across Brazil for the victims of Monday's plane crash, who included most of the Chapecoense football team. Thousands of fans in Chapeco walked through the city centre to the team's stadium, where they prayed, sang and comforted one another. The team had been flying to Colombia for a match when their plane went down near Medellin airport, killing 71 people. 6 people survived. The Royal Bank of Scotland has failed an annual health check of the financial sector. The bank, 73% of which is owned by the taxpayer, emerged as the worst performer in the Bank of England's toughest ever stress test. Plans are now being drawn up to increase its resilience to a financial crash. And Britain's roads are the most congested in Europe. That's according to a study of traffic in more than 100 cities. It found more than 20,000 so-called traffic hotspots. That's well over double the number in Germany. They're known to help relieve the pressure on GP practices, but from tomorrow, funding cuts mean that thousands of pharmacies may have to close, and many warn this will lead to a significant reduction in vital services like home delivery to those most in need. Our health correspondent, Catherine Jones, reports.
This chemist on the outskirts of Harpenden in Hertfordshire will soon be forced to close. A big change to the way the NHS funds pharmacies will make it too unprofitable to run. Customers will have to travel to Harpenden town centre instead.
There is a bus, but it's only once an hour, the bus. For a minor thing, am I going to bother?
I'd have to ring my GP and tell him to come and see me.
It's an ageing community and a lot of people wouldn't be able to cope.
For this financial year, funding for community pharmacies in England falls by 4%, with another 3.4% cut next year. Earlier this year, one minister estimated the number of pharmacies could fall from 11,700 now to as low as 8,700, though the government now disputes that figure. But even if there aren't mass closures, pharmacists warn many will scale back what they offer.
Most pharmacies work way beyond the contracted core hours. They will have to look at that as a cost-cutting mechanism. They will have to look at the services they provide free of charge, like deliveries to the housebound and the elderly. And all our evidence points to the fact that if you reduce these services, you put more demand on the doctors.
The government says its aim is to get more pharmacists out from behind the dispensing counters at the back of shops and instead working alongside GPs in their surgeries, for example, or with the NHS 111 service or in care homes looking after patients.
And to ensure communities still have one chemist to go to, pharmacies that are more than 1 mile from any other are protected from the cutbacks. But the owner of this one says that just creates ridiculous anomalies.
They've made an indiscriminate, across-the-board cut. And to give you an idea of how crazy this is, this pharmacy serving 12,000 people is not protected. Boots at Terminal 5 Heathrow is protected. Go figure.
The cuts start to take effect from tomorrow. Pharmacies say it's not too late for the government to reconsider. The government says it's sticking to its ambition to build a pharmacy sector fit for the 21st century. Catherine Jones, 5 News.
Now, is there such a thing as a blame-free divorce? Well, a group of family lawyers are trying to take the confrontation out of what is, for many, an extremely painful and difficult decision. At the moment, a couple has to say one or the other is guilty of adultery or unreasonable behaviour, and that, say lawyers, makes any hostility worse. So they're suggesting a new, more positive way of doing things. Olivia Kinsley reports.
Natasha Britton had a beautiful white wedding. But when, after 16 years, the marriage broke down, she and her then husband decided to try to make it an amicable divorce.
We've all heard these horrendous stories where, you know, court cases have gone on and on and on, there's toing and froing. The children, if there are children, are in the middle of it, and we just didn't want that.
To divorce, a couple must prove the marriage has irretrievably broken down through adultery, desertion, unreasonable behaviour or separation. None of those applied to Natasha's situation, so to prevent a long divorce, she told a lie.
So you said you cheated when you didn't?
Yeah, I just ticked the box, the adultery box, because it just seemed the easiest way. You have an immense amount of paperwork.
Natasha says having a no-fault option in divorce, where neither side accepts blame, could reduce some of the burden and pain. 150 family lawyers are now lobbying MPs to bring that in.
It's time to end the blame game, it's time for change, and it should happen as soon as possible. It really just increases the bitterness and acrimony at a time when they should be looking forward to the future, not recriminating on the past.
If we make divorce easier, will more people just get divorced?
I don't think this is making divorce easier in any way. It's about supporting, it's about compassion, it's about, I just think, kindness and respect. And if society starts acknowledging how difficult it is and can remove some of those obstacles and those hurdles, like this question in the papers, wonderful.
She now runs a website helping people through their breakups and tells them not to focus on blame. Olivia Kinsley, 5 News.
Coming up on 5 News. Preparing to be president, Donald Trump says he's quitting his business empire. And Gareth Southgate is confirmed as the England manager. So can he end the jinx of football's impossible job? We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. You're watching 5 News. Police say 4 men have killed themselves in the UK because they were victims of so-called sextortion. International gangs of organised criminals are said to be targeting young men by using fake identities online to lure them into performing sexual acts in front of webcams. They then threaten to share the details unless they're given money. There have been nearly 900 cases in 2016 already. Simon Vigar has the story.
This is an online police awareness video. What the actress says is based on what's really happening every day.
Hey, how are you doing?
The usual targets for extortion or sextortion are young men. And once they've exposed themselves on their webcam, they're blackmailed.
Your contacts have been downloaded.
These are the words of one of the victims who've contacted police.
The messages came up, pay £500 or this is going all over Facebook. I want £500. Then she started listing my friend's details. I was trembling throughout the whole thing, shaking and thinking, what's going to happen? This will ruin my life. I thought about suicide.
The police say they know of at least 4 suicides linked to sextortion. One was 17-year-old Daniel Perry from Dunfermline. Another, also 17, was Ronan Hughes from County Tyrone.
We've seen an enormous increase. We started to notice this emerging last year, and this year now we've had over 900 offences reported to the police, which is nearly triple what we had the year before. But what worries me is I suspect there are an awful lot of victims out there who are not reporting it to the police.
Because you know what? You're being recorded. Understand?
She works for me.
The scam starts with a friend request on social media and sooner or later progresses to a webcam conversation. The blackmail is immediate. Wayne May hasn't been targeted but runs this website to help people who have.
We get a lot of people come in to us and say if the video ever gets leaked, I will kill myself. So we know it's something that people are considering when this happens to them. And I say we know from the past that people have done this before.
Police are targeting gangs in the Philippines, the Ivory Coast and Morocco.
We know there are several organisations based overseas that are making millions of pounds out of this offence. They are very sophisticated in the use of technology, the use of money transfers. This is a big business.
The advice is don't panic, don't pay, do go to the police. There are prosecutions and detectives believe it's the tip of an online iceberg.
It's just business.
Simon Viger, 5 News.
He's said to be worth the equivalent of £3 billion and has more than 500 different enterprises in his empire. And in the lead up to the US election, Donald Trump insisted he could run both the presidency and his business perfectly. Not anymore. The president-elect took to his favourite medium, Twitter, to announce a change of heart. Our political editor, Andy Bell, reports.
Before he was elected president, he was a businessman, and he seemed reluctant to give that up. But today, Donald Trump has said he will cut the links with his business empire when he takes up office in January. In a couple of tweets, of course, he said, "I'll be holding a major news conference in New York City with my children on December the 15th to discuss the fact that I will be leaving my great business in total in order to fully focus on running the country in order to make America great again."
Bradford, you're fired.
The president-elect made a fortune as a reality TV star, and he has an extensive business portfolio, especially property, whether in the United States, Dubai, Scotland and further afield. His opponents have been saying he risks a serious conflict of interest if he doesn't sever those ties. He says his family can run the business, but he's already caused alarm by mixing them into his new political world. For instance, his daughter and son-in-law were there for his first meeting with a foreign leader, the Japanese Prime Minister. Meanwhile, he's still putting his team together. He had dinner with Mitt Romney, a man who once called him a phony, but who now may be in line to become Secretary of State.
We had another discussion about affairs throughout the world, and these discussions I've had with him have been enlightening and interesting and engaging. I've enjoyed them very, very much.
America and the world must get used to the Trump way of doing things. In 7 weeks, he'll be president. Andy Bell, 5 News.
The Queen's granddaughter, Zara Tindall, is expecting her second child. The Olympic horse rider and her husband, Mike Tindall, already have a daughter, Mia, who's 3. The new arrival, due in the spring, will be the Queen's 6th great-grandchild. For years, he was best known for that missed penalty at Euro '96. But today, Gareth Southgate's position at the top of English football was confirmed. The former international, who's been England's interim manager for their past 4 games, has been made the permanent boss. He follows in the footsteps of Sam Allardyce, who was forced to quit after just 67 days in the role. Peter Lane's been getting reaction from Middlesbrough, the only club Southgate's ever managed.
The handshake, the deal done, Gareth Southgate has got the job.
I'm extremely proud. I think myself, my family, everybody that has helped me on my journey within football as a player or a coach, this is a very proud moment for all of those people. So I'm also conscious that getting the job is one thing. I want to do the job successfully.
This was his last game as temporary manager, a friendly against Spain, which ended in a draw. Now he's stepping fully into the spotlight that's seen plenty of faces come and go. Back in 2006, Sven-Göran Eriksson was England manager, replaced by Steve McLaren, followed by Fabio Capello, a caretaker in Stuart Pearce, Roy Hodgson's longer stint, Sam Allardyce for just 1 game, and now Gareth Southgate. That's 7 managers in only 10 years. If England managers like to talk about their club history, Gareth Southgate only has 1 chapter as manager here at Middlesbrough, and it's less than glowing. They were relegated, he was sacked. But the town's football editor thinks he was thrown into management too early back then, and that the time is now right.
I think a lot of it's about being in the right place at the right time, isn't it, in football? And Gareth's, I guess, the safe choice for England. He's got the background with the under-21s. He knows the characters around the England team. He knows the players intimately.
I think he's fantastic. He was a very good player, and he was a very good manager for Middlesbrough.
And I think he showed himself in the under-21s, so yeah, happy for him.
The future's bright.
Future is bright, and yeah, I'll always consider him a Middlesbrough legend, to be honest.
The penalty nightmare of Euro 96 will never leave Gareth Southgate, but it's all character-building stuff, and he did manage to embrace the joke in this TV ad. 20 years later, he's having the last laugh.
Thanks a lot, boys. I feel much better now.
Peter Lane, 5 News.
Before we go, Matt's joined us to tell us what's coming up on 5 News tonight. Hello there.
He hasn't changed, has he? How much sleep do you get a night, Sean?
Last night, not much, if I'm honest.
If it's under 7 hours, listen to this, you're contributing to a lack of productivity, which scientists say is costing the UK economy billions of pounds a year. Not just your sleep, Sean, all of us. We'll find out why later. Also, I'll be chatting to the actor behind this.
Tory majority, government, Brexit, Trump. What next? When will we learn that the key is discussion?
That is Jonathan Pye, as played by Tom Walker. He'll be here at this desk later on, Sean.
Oh, I look forward to that. Thank you, Matt. See you later on. That is it for now. Claire Nazir has the weather next. I'll see you again tomorrow at 5. Matt's back at 6:30. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.